Okay, it says we are live. So
We are
happy
live.
Wednesday. I'm Nancy Quinn, previously Ganzakoffer, and I am an interior design business coach and body language trainer, helping everyone make more money and get the work-life balance that they want. And I am here today with Carleen Lamay of C2 Accounting, my bookkeeper extraordinaire. So tell us what we're talking about today, Carleen.
So today we're talking about something that affects every business owner, especially interior designers. It's overhead costs. So, sometimes you might wonder, where is your money going to go every month? Even especially when business is slow, which a lot of times, as every business, we have those times of the year where we just have some downturns,
Yes.
and we're not bringing in as much revenue, but our expenses aren't changing. And so we need to understand what those kind of steady expenses are that's not tied to a project, so you can understand how much it really takes to run your business on a monthly basis.
Okay, so that is a little confusing because there's terms for this, aren't there? This is like your standard costs that you're definitely going to have, and then
Yeah,
there's
some people say operating costs, some people say it's general expenses, overhead. I tend to do operating I because I like that word better. It's what it's going to cost to operate or run your business, whether you have clients come in this month or not, or whether you have 10 clients or one client this month.
okay. So operating expenses that are stagnant or steady, I should say, and the ones that are variable as you bring on more clients, you're going to have
Right.
expenses. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're gonna.
the ones that are very according to clients are usually going to be your cost of goods sold, right? The more you sell, the
True.
more your cost of goods goes up. Let's say you have a contractor that you bring in just to do CAD drawings. Well, you don't pay them when you don't have a project. When you have a project, you pay the CAD person. So those are more all that's really considered cost of goods sold because it's associated with project work.
Okay, all right. So I want to make sure everyone understood that before we go into smart ways to save money on your operating expenses, is what I'm assuming we're talking about,
hmm
right? Okay. All right. So give us number one.
Okay, so we kind of just jumped into my first point was what our overhead or what our operating expenses, and we did just say that it's expenses not tied to a specific client. So things like your rent, software, subscriptions. Phone and internet, insurance, marketing, things that some of these are going to be, maybe you signed a contract and you're kind of fixed for a year, or things like your rent, your utilities, those really don't change whether you have clients or not. Those are kind of fixed costs. Your phone bill won't really change at all.
And your tech, right? If you're using
Oh, your tech stack for sure.
the tech
You
stack.
and I both have.
Oh my goodness gracious. Every time I try to consolidate, somehow it goes in the opposite direction. It grows because technology
It
keeps
does.
changing.
And if you're like me, you have shiny object syndrome, like every new piece of it. I actually, funny story, I made a commitment to my team that I would not introduce new tech this year in January. I told them this because I'm one like, I saw this, we're going to try it. And so, one, to keep my costs under control, but two, we're just not going to bring new tech in this year if we don't have to.
And actually that's a great tip by itself. And what I always say to my team is, I don't think we need another system to manage that. One of the systems that we already operate probably does this. So
Yeah.
why don't we and I'll pay a little bit of money to get on with a rep for an existing software that we use and say, what are we not using? And it's always
Oh,
eye-opening.
wow. It's funny that you mentioned that. How many times are you paying for things that you're not taking advantage of the full capability? It's like
Yes.
throwing money out of the window. So,
Yes.
yeah. And now
Yes.
there are some pieces of software that they do a lot of things, but they don't do them all well. And so I can
True.
understand you got it for this portion, but if you're using something and it has capabilities that could make your life easier, save you time or money, then definitely if you're already paying for it, just use it. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
why does all this matter, right? Because these costs, these fixed costs, they're going to eat into your profit whether or not you have projects. They're going to eat into your profit regardless of how many clients you have. So you want to make sure you not only get them under control, but that you understand them.
I'm going to focus on the understanding part because when you start to really, and my clients all the time, I'm like, how much do you spend a month? What are your monthly expenses? So I'm not sure, or it
Mhm.
varies. So let's get down to what exactly is everything costing you and understand the capabilities, right? So
Right.
understanding is number one.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, some of the terminology, right? Understanding what's a direct cost, what's going to be your cost of goods sold, things that are project related, like installation labor, you're buying furniture, you're paying those subcontractors. Those are going to vary by project. They're going to go up the more you sell, and they're going to go down the less you sell, right?
Right,
But
right.
the overhead's going to stay the same. And when you're pricing projects, not only understanding how much it costs you to buy the couch that you're going to turn around and resell. But if you understand how much it costs to run your business, you'll make sure that you have enough of a margin to actually do what you need to do to pay your team, to
Yes.
keep the lights going,
To pay yourself.
to pay yourself. Yes, to pay yourself.
Right? Because I can't tell you how many times my Profit Insider Academy clients will say, I want to bring on an assistant, but I'm not even paying myself yet. Right. So understanding how to do that
Right.
properly also. But okay.
Exactly.
So small
And
ways to save money. Understand your costs, number one.
understand your costs, understand your direct costs, but also understand the recurring costs, the operating.
Okay.
Um, so some of the things that people forget about, right? We just talked about software and your rent and your phone bill and electric. But what about like storage units for clients if you're paying for that? Continuing education, the team subscriptions. I mean, when you're having a lot of these software, it's only $10 a month. It's only $30 a month. And I will be the first to, to fall in that and say I do that all the time, but those $10, $30 add up. It's like going to the grocery store and you put 20 things in your cart and they're only $5 each. And you get to checkout, you're like, wait, how in the world did I spend this
Yeah.
much
How did
money?
I
Is
just
this
spend $300 on food shopping with
exactly
half
right?
a
The dollar,
cart?
how do you go to the dollar store and spend $100? I'm like, what? How is that even possible?
I know.
So, but it happens, right? And understanding that if you cut some of these things that you're not using or utilizing to their fullest capabilities, how much money could you then pay yourself? That's like an immediate profit that you can turn around, a patty on your bottom line. So don't forget about some of those hidden costs, especially things like storage units, because I've seen clients they have them. Some of them they just keep so that they have it or ways when they have a new project come in if they're storing things. But
Yes.
I've seen them take on new ones and those add up really fast. So make sure you keep an eye on that.
Okay. Okay.
So we talked about we have overhead, we have operating costs. Well, how can you reduce them? One, by looking at your numbers, doing like a quarterly subscription audit. Some people do it yearly. If you have a huge tech stack, you can't probably just cut them all today, but set a frequent cadence to say, okay, this is what we have. This is how we're using it. This is how much we're paying for it. Is this still meeting our needs? Is this still worth it? And then just being honest with yourself and just cutting what just doesn't serve you anymore. Can you bundle things? Like, can you find a tool that does two of the things or three of the things that you're already paying for that maybe cost a little bit cheaper to do it that way? Oh, switching to annual billing. So
Yes.
if you have the cash flow, now that's obviously a cash flow issue, but if you have the cash, it is usually cheaper to prepay for a year's worth of any software than it is to pay monthly. So that's
Yes.
one way.
Or any program, like
Or any
for
program.
our Profit
Exactly.
Insiders, we offer a full cost at a discount, or you can pay monthly as a subscription.
Exactly.
So
Right. So if you have the cash, take advantage of it, right? So
okay.
and then put that savings in some sort of interest bearing account so it's still making you money. Um, Hiring contractors versus employees, especially when you're scaling. Um, like you just mentioned earlier, someone who's saying they want to possibly get an assistant, but they're not paying themselves yet. Having that fixed cost is sometimes not doable because you're not sure how much money you're making.
Yeah,
Now,
it's scary.
it is scary. But with that being said, there are certain positions you have to total line like what's going to be a contractor versus an employee. Hiring a contractor is really someone who does this for other people. They actually are truly a contractor, and you're not just taking an employee and slapping the contractor label on them. But
Mhm.
this way, they're not depending upon you to pay all their bills.
Yes.
And if the work reduces with you, they can always go work for someone else and make sure that they can still do what they need to do.
Right. So contractors have their own businesses and work for your multiple businesses sometimes, and you are allowed to cut their hours, raise their hours, whatever your workflow needs without
Exactly.
guilt, because they know they have their own businesses and they're in charge of making sure they're making enough money per month, not you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So definitely look at what rules and there's so many agencies for so many things, especially for interior designers, where they actually can help you find the right people to
Yes.
meet those needs.
Yes.
Um, if you have a physical space, but you're not meeting with clients there, it might make sense to either move to a home office or like some sort of shared space to cut down on rent. I know everyone wants an office, it's this thing, but sometimes we don't all need them. I had one, I fell into that trap. I had an office for a year and I realized I used it less than a dozen times in that whole entire year. And
Really?
but I had to do it because I needed to say I did it. And my husband likes to remind me that had I not, I would always have been wondering what would have happened had I had a space.
That's a
I
good
did it.
point.
Yeah, because sometimes you do have to go out there and do the thing that you think you want to do, only to find out it didn't really work the way you thought it was going to work.
Yeah.
So,
I can't
if
tell you how many interior designers I have coached to not go out of their homes because it's expensive. It
mhm,
then puts an extra pressure on them. So depending on what type of firm they're growing and where they are in their journey, I've often said, now's not the time.
right,
You'll be a wreck by next year if you have one bad month. So
exactly, and that rent
let's
payment
hold off.
is due regardless. Yeah,
Yes.
and if you're meeting with your clients on site anyway, why do you need the space?
Yeah,
So,
some of them do because they're doing big, bigger firms. They're growing bigger firms with
right.
employees, and they have their clients come to them for the presentation. So it depends
That's
on what kind
different.
of firm
Mhm.
they are. Yeah,
Yeah,
and usually
exactly.
those are doing the numbers.
Exactly. You're not worried about it. They have the cash on hand to kind of hold them through those downturns.
Yes.
So we've talked about like all the pitfalls. We talked about what to look for. Well, how do you track it? Your numbers, QuickBooks. I mean, um, having a spreadsheet, which I've said 1,000 times, it's good in the beginning, but it's not scalable and it's not manipulable. You can't really manipulate it to get data and visualize it in different ways.
Hmm.
So, having an accounting system in place that allows you to run numbers, to actually see the P&L, to understand like this is 100% of my revenue and my cost of goods sold is 50%, and you have 50% left to do this, and out of that 10% went over here and 20% went over there. Like that's the beauty of a software like QuickBooks Online, where you have the data at your
Yes.
fingertips at all times. So
And
yes,
this
it
is the
was.
time for me to remind everyone that I know QuickBooks is scary. I'm in it myself, but
Yes,
understanding QuickBooks before you panic, right, and have to hire someone to fix everything up, even though that would be Carleen if you need that. But from this point forward, like start to learn a little bit, right? I just said to you, I'm switching banks and I'm trying to do it myself because I want to learn and I'm in QuickBooks. And then you're going to check me, right? So understanding, because I'm going to mess up, but understanding your own tech and your own systems at least a little bit so that
yes.
you're not lost before and I just think there's so many smart ways to save money, and one of the smart ways to save money is to learn. Take some time to
Mm.
learn so you can do some things yourself in your entire business and release them to other people when it's time.
And even if you're not doing some things yourself, like with QuickBooks, having a basic understanding helps you to know if the person who you've hired to do it for you has made some egregious mistakes. You may not understand everything, but if you get familiar with reports and reporting and how to read them, you
Yeah.
can go, this doesn't look right. That I
Right.
don't know how to fix it, but I can tell you it
Yes.
doesn't look right. And I've taken over the books for quite a few businesses that had a bookkeeper in the past. And I felt bad that they were paying someone to basically make a mess. And they didn't know what they didn't know. So they didn't really understand how to b- correct this person. And it's
Yes.
not really their job to correct them, but do you know what I mean? They didn't have that basic understanding. So I'm all about education. Learn, learn, learn.
That's what I love about you and what you've even taught me, because I was in that position, really handed it over, didn't understand it, didn't realize it wasn't being done exactly the way I needed it for my business. So there was a lack of communication because of lack of knowledge on my part, where
Mhm.
when people are bookkeeping with you, they get to meet with you once a month if they want to, 15 minutes to go over everything. I don't use
30
that most
minutes.
times. What? 30 minutes. And
30
I don't even,
minutes.
I didn't even realize most of the time I don't need that. But when I need it, it's so amazing that you
Right.
give it to me every month. So I don't have to think, oh my God, I need to talk to Carleen, but I don't want to disturb her. It's part of your packages to meet with the clients who need you every month if need be.
And email support is part of our package as well. We don't charge you a fee for emailing us and asking a question. We'd rather you ask us a question so that we can direct you the right way of doing something. Even it's like, hey, I got a new bank and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do, or I bought a car. What do I need to get to give to you? Like, bring us in. We're literally your partner. We want to be there for you. So, yeah, don't ever be afraid to reach out. And if you don't have that relationship with your bookkeeper, then you need to find another bookkeeper, because you really should be able to communicate with them about anything related to your business.
And ask them any question, no matter how stupid you think it is, that,
Exactly.
and that's where you have been an amazing resource for me, because even as a business coach, I don't know everything about bookkeeping. That's why I have you, right? I just know the top level. I watch things, I ask questions, and I redirect if I think something doesn't sound right to me or feel right to me. That's it.
All right.
Otherwise, you do it.
And I'm going to put you on blast because you've gone in and done stuff, and then I'll get an email that goes, Carleen, I was in there and I did something and I know I messed it up and I'm not sure how to fix it. And we always fix it.
I
so,
know. And I do it pretty much every month. I screw at least one thing up. If I
so
just
yeah,
got
so
on
don't
your
ever
calendar, you could teach me how to do it right.
so it's don't ever feel bad. Yes. So definitely using accounting software like QuickBooks. And if you're using like a design software like Design Files or Mydoma or something like that, making sure it's integrated so that
Yes.
everything is being synced over. And I think we have a video before we talked about how to reconcile your design software to QuickBooks so that you understand that everything that's supposed to be in QuickBooks is in QuickBooks.
Yes.
Um, and then consistently categorize things. I am not a fan of any category called other or any category called miscellaneous because it
We
tells
don't know what
me
it is,
nothing.
other.
Right, don't do that. Yeah, everything should have a home. I'm not a fan either of like these ridiculously long list of accounts that have a line for every little thing, but you definitely want it to have enough context so that as you're analyzing it, it makes sense. Because how do you analyze a miscellaneous or an other category when you don't really know what's in there? So you want to make sure that the categories make sense for your business.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
you're reviewing those reports every month for bloat. Like one of the things we try to do is make sure we point out to our clients if something seems out of whack. Like this month, you spent $10,000 on electricity, and it's normally 500 a month. What in the world happened? So we try to at least let them be aware of these kind of blips. That's what we're looking for every month when we're reviewing their reports.
That's amazing. All right. So smart ways to save money would be, you had a whole list, but quarterly checking your expenses.
hmm
Under,
Especially recurring expenses, the things that you pay for, sign up for, and forget about. You definitely want to check those.
I feel like we're a Rocket Money commercial. Right? Look at your subscriptions, look at your monthly expenses, look at them every quarter. Realize some of them probably you don't need to be paying for anymore if you're not utilizing them to its
hmm
fullest. Look to see if you have overlapping technologies, old technologies that you don't even use anymore that you're afraid to get rid of. Why? Right? Maybe look into that and see. Being in their home office, or maybe not having an external rent if they don't need it,
hmm
contract employees versus staff,
hmm
permanent staff, if they're nervous about it. And then just keep looking at your numbers and see where you can make some savings. And I just add, learn a little bit, because when you learn a little bit, you actually tend to not spend as much money because you
Right.
can do it yourself, right? So just
Yes.
spending on the stage you're at, and then you can let it go when you're making enough money and let someone
Right.
else do it.
And if you think about a profit and loss report, you have income, cost of goods sold, and then your operating expenses, and what's left is your profit, right? That's the standard income report. But a lot of times people think of profit and what's in their bank account, and they're not the
Yes.
same.
Yeah.
So having a way to actually visualize this information is going to help you understand how much money you're really making and how much money you're going to be taxed on. Because I've had the opposite where people will have $5,000 in their bank account because they've taken out owner's draws, whatever, but they made $50,000 that year on paper, and they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, you're gonna get taxed on 50,000, whether you have 50,000 in cash or not. That's not the point. So understanding that.
I know, it's so confusing. When that finally made sense for me, it was like a huge light bulb moment.
Hmm.
Like literally your profit and loss statement does not match your bank account, so don't even try, right? It's
Right.
it's
There's
a
so
it's
many
a
things that go into
reflection over time
cash.
of what you've done, right?
Right. Yeah. And there's so many things that go into how much cash you actually have that it's don't do that. So, but yeah, so with that being said, I have had people say to me things like, I didn't realize how many little expenses were kind of hiding in plain sight. They just because they just pay it. It hits your credit card, you don't even look, especially credit card statements are the worst. You don't look at it and you just pay the bill every month. And so it just adds up. So really, really pulling back, the blinders and really taking a hard look at what you're spending.
All right, scrutinize your expenses and then
Yes.
call Carleen if you need a really great bookkeeping firm. And your staff is really good too, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah, I know
yeah,
it's
well,
hard.
hopefully, yeah, and hopefully people they're ready to start making better financial decisions. That's what it's all about.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Colleen. Did we miss anything or we got it all?
I think we got it all.
I love that. Okay. All right, everyone. So go have a great rest of your Wednesday. Colleen and I will see you next month with
Next month.
our next topic. If there's anything you guys want to know more specifically about bookkeeping, make sure you put a comment under here and tag Colleen because we can always add it to the next live as a little filler where we can answer your question or we can answer it right underneath in the comments, right? So wherever you're watching, make a comment and tag one of us and we'll get an answer to you. All right.
Awesome.
All right. So go to c2-accttg.com. We're going to change that eventually or no?
We are.
Listen, I'm changing too, right? Mine is
Right.
still, that, and I'm going to be changing soon to Profit Insiders Coaching as opposed to branding by my name. There's every couple of years we have to do things like that. But while we're looking at expenses, we're going to hold off.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you
All right,
next time.
Nancy. Have a great one. Bye,
You too. Bye,
everyone.
everyone.